the Taurus Spectrum. Let's check it out. Because of the introduction of 9mm single stack pistols, 380 ACP has kind of fallen down a little bit in popularity. But one of the things about a 380 is that you can make it very small, and sometimes making it really tiny is the perfect concealed carry option. Plus, 380 ACP is very light in recoil compared to 9mm. So Taurus introduced the Spectrum, which is in 380 ACP. And there are a lot of features on this handgun that are new to the firearms market. And I want to thank gunbuyer.com for sending the Spectrum for the test and evaluation. I've been very interested in this pistol just because of its unique design. It being a Taurus kind of made me hesitate, but once I took it to the range, man, this is a great little handgun. One of the big reasons that the Spectrum got a lot of attention up front is because of all the color combinations that Taurus is offering. I mean, they have different frame colors, the inserts here are different, slides, colors, whether it's the black or even kind of a stainless finish to it. So there's a lot of cool things that just kind of draw the eye for people that are not necessarily shooters. And that's great because it introduces a lot of people. It gives them a taste for a little bit of style. But that's not really what this pistol is about. First thing we're going to do is to go ahead and drop the magazine, check the chamber, and the gun is empty. You get 2 magazines with the gun. You get a 6-round and a 7-round magazine. Now you'll notice this little grip right here. This is a pinky rest, and this was actually pretty well designed and thought out. On here, your pinky naturally kind of comes in. When you're bringing your hand in, your pinky kind of rides this way. So with this in mind, they made that grip to where it naturally just rests. It nestles in your hand. Another thing too is there's a little bit of a rise right here to kind of go in between the knuckles. It's not a finger groove, but it's just the way that it fits, just like this. Now my hands are medium, but this little pistol fits very nicely, just like this. With that being said though, the standard magazine, because this is 380, it just still rides pretty decently in the hand. Right here, it does ride off, but with 380 again, the recoil is just not that bad. You'll notice how low the bore axis is. I mean, it really rides up. And I don't really think that meaty hands shouldn't have too much of a problem, but it's possible. Now, I opted for just the black version because I just wanted something to show for what the gun was about. And I didn't want the distraction, but there are so many different colors, and you can go to the Taurus website and check it out. But one of the big pluses for this pistol are these panels, and these are called soft touch panels. They're right here at the front, they're right here toward the back. It's a kind of a rubberized finish, and then you have it actually right here in the slide. This is a very different way to look at things. Now, one thing that I want to mention about Taurus is Taurus is originally based out of Brazil, but they have factories here in the US, down in Miami, Florida, and this gun was actually designed by American engineers. It was manufactured by American engineers. So this gun is actually an American-made handgun from start to finish. You'll notice though that these little inserts, they have this lip that rides right up here. So when you're grabbing the slide, you have a good solid grip on it. Now one thing you'll notice is the slide does stay back, so it has a slide hold open feature on the last round, and it does have a small, very small slide stop. You can use this as a slide release if you push back on the slide and hold it down, but it's made to be extremely minimal. This gun has nothing that can snag except this little lever right here. That's it. So this gun's not going to get caught on anything. It's really great for deep concealment. Slide has a nice matte sheen to it. It is a carbon steel with a melanite finish on it. The sights are extremely low profile. This is definitely made for just self-defense. You can't change them. And because of that, accuracy was decent, but it wasn't anything pinpoint. Your mag release right here, and this actually has some of the texturing on it, and it is reversible to the other side. Putting your hand on the frame, it just naturally fits in all the right places. Right here with this little divot comes in. I mean, the design was actually from the ground up, so it's a pretty cool design. Now the gun, as you can see, the magazine's empty and the gun's unloaded. The trigger on the Spectrum also is wide by design. To me, it looks a little cheap, but it's definitely wide. You get a lot of grip here on the trigger as you pull it, and so it gives you a little more surface and it doesn't dig into your hand. We're going to check the trigger pull. This is a double action striker fired pistol, and that means that the trigger is not pre-cocked. A lot of times with certain pistols, the striker will be pre-cocked, so it makes a very fast follow-up. But this is a full pull, but it is extremely smooth. I mean, there is no stacking, grit, or anything. It's just a very smooth pull. It's fairly heavy, and we'll check the weight in a minute. Bring it here, a little bit of stacking at the end, and then a snap. The break is not super crisp, but for what we have here, it's still a fairly decent trigger. One of the pluses for this trigger system, though, is you do have second strike capability. In case you fire on a dead round, you can pull the trigger again. As far as reset, that's typical for a double action only pistol. It's pretty long. We're going to check the trigger pull with our Lyman trigger gauge. 6 pounds, 9.9 ounces. 6 pounds, 5.1 ounces. Taurus says that it's between a 7 and 9 pound trigger pull, but again, we're getting about 6.5 pounds. The barrel is 2.8 inches in length. The full length of the pistol is 5.4 inches. It's 3.82 inches in the height, and it's 0.89 in the slide width. So a very small, super micro compact pistol. One pistol that really came to mind as far as the comparison is the Ruger LCP2. And here you can see that these handguns are almost identical as far as the dimensions. The LCP2 may be a little thinner, but not by much. One thing though that I will definitely tell you is that the ergonomics of the Spectrum are far superior. I mean, they just are. Now, I love the Ruger LCP and the LCP2. I own both. They're great handguns, and here we have the LCP. But one thing when firing this pistol, it's very snappy. And that's one of the things about the LCP standard. It is very snappy. The trigger is not all that great. With the LCP2, they've improved it. The trigger is really nice, but it's still a lot more snappy than the Spectrum. And here we have the Glock 42 and 380 ACP. You can see that it's considerably larger here and then a touch larger at the frame. But one reason why the 380 has kind of fallen a little bit out of favor is because of a lot of the micro 9mm single stacks. And here we have a Glock 43. This is really a much larger handgun, but you are firing 9mm. But one of the big things about the Glock is the recoil is more with 9mm than it is with the 380. And they both only hold 6 rounds, and of course you get your extended magazine with the 7 rounds on the Spectrum. I want to thank Freedom Munitions for supplying the 380 ACP. Get a 5% discount using SUIT00 at checkout. Because of the way this gun is designed, the recoil is extremely mild. Sometimes on some of the small micro 380s, whether it's the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard or the Ruger LCP, they can be pretty snappy. It's one of the things about this little Taurus Spectrum. It's large enough to where you can get a good solid grip. And definitely the soft touch material right here gives you a good firm grasp on the handgun. But as I've said, the Spectrum was also extremely reliable. We had no malfunctions whatsoever. There are a couple of things though that I did have some problems with, and the biggest was just getting the magazine to seat. in the mag catch. You really have to rack it, pop it pretty good. If you're not careful and you just set it in, the magazine will come out. So really hitting that magazine is the best option. Maybe after a little time, that would probably work in. Even without the extended pinky rest on the extended magazine. I mean, because the 380 is just so mild, it really was a pleasure to shoot. Racking the slide, very easy to do. One thing, in fact, one of the reasons why this gun was designed the way it is was because when you grab this with standard serrations, you can actually let go of it too early. With these little concave areas right here, when you pull it, it's a good positive pull. A little bit along the same idea as some of the cocking ears that go on the back, like on the VP9. That really makes a big difference if you're having any kind of hand strength issue, being able to pull that, or in a very stressful situation. So I think that was a really good design from them. Now, another thing that was a little bit of a problem at the range was not letting the trigger fully come out. I wanted to kind of short stroke it a little bit. I'd fire it and then I'd kind of pull it again, and it took a little bit of getting used to. After that, this gun just ran like a top. Because of the price point of Taurus, it has had a bad reputation in the past. But I'll tell you what, guys, this little Spectrum is good to go. Rubber Dummy is one of the best training tools at the range, and you get a 15% discount using Suit00 using the link down below in the description. Now we're going to disassemble the firearm. Just remove your magazine, check to make sure the gun is unloaded. Where your typical takedown lever is right here, just look to the other side, there's a small slot. You can take the shell of a 380 ACP or anything that'll fit there, and you want to just turn that into a horizontal position. Once you get it into that position, the slide comes right off. You don't have to pull the trigger. Now take your recoil spring and guide rod. Be careful because it's under tension. It is not captive, but it is a steel guide rod, and you have your spring. Here we have the barrel. Just lift and pull out. And now we have the gun fully field stripped. One thing I will show you though is the rails right here on the frame are long and they're solid. And so that really helps to keep that slide just in line. Here you can see the internals. One of the big things about the trigger, which is big for Taurus, is that the sear and the hammer are never engaged until you pull the trigger. So this gun is drop safe, and there is a firing pin safety right here. So this is a very safe handgun to carry, even though it doesn't have an external safety. Here you can see the barrel, which is a Browning linkless design style. And to reassemble, just insert your barrel, your recoil spring and guide rod, which takes a little bit of getting used to just because it's not captive. Next, place the slide back on the frame, and we're back in business. Immediately, this turns back into the lock position. Now, the MSRP from Taurus on the Spectrum is $289, and that's this model in particular with the black finish. They do have a number of in-house finishes, and then they have even custom finishes that they can do, and exclusive finishes from different distributors. And again, you can go to the Taurus website and check that out. And this gun on Gunbuyer is $234. I mean, it's just a great price. And again, you do get the 2 magazines and a small box that comes with it. This is pretty nondescript. And then, of course, your owner's manual. And again, I want to thank Gunbuyer.com for sending the Taurus Spectrum for this test and evaluation. And guys, I'm telling you, this is a great little handgun. And yes, I'm surprised. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. And that means that, and here as far as size comparison, we have a Ruger, okay. And as far as size comparison, and we have a Ruger, okay, the slide. We'll take out our, because of the Taurus Spectrum, let's,